Hello everyone!
Hello?
SudrianRails here. Today on the follow-up to the Hybrid series, we have no other than Hybrid series James the Red Engine. Hopefully you'll notice the quality boost in this video, as thanks to you guys, we are finally on the brand new computer we originally set out for. The editing should come across limitless. That being said, this is the first full video I'm editing on the new computer, so you guys will be the judge of that. There'll be some short form animations included in the video when covering the model, but that's not all we have to talk about today. Yes indeed, today we're going to first quickly cover the new computer, the James model itself, and one or two teasers that I want to show you at the end of today's video. So sit back and enjoy how I made Hybrid series James.
Don't let me leave, Murph! No! No!
So, you know, it's me. No face cam because I don't fit in the frame. This is a big computer. Maybe not a big computer, it's a really big box. Like, here to here, I think that's like 3 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet. I got here in like a week, so let's unbox it. Full disclosure, I didn't think it was gonna be this big. I should have probably tested it before I put it on my cupboard. I don't really have a review table, so I hope I get this right. They said that they did company test it, so it's built to order. So they built it for me, and then they tested it, and after they tested it, they mailed it. So, as far as I know, it should work. But you know, we'll find out. They could be lying. Shit. You open it here, right? Oh my goodness, this is big. Okay, first I'm out with the NZXT accessories box. See what that's about. But it's very foam protected, very good. Power cable. I don't know what these are. I'll have to ask Kelso Jake later. And a shit ton of screws. Do I have to build this myself? Oh. Aha. Holy shit. Wow. Let's put it on the table again. I mean, here it is with natural light, you know. The plastic removed. I just set up the little Wi-Fi antennas. Oh. I gotta connect this now, but it's all very, very exciting. I'm gonna go clean up my desk space, take down the old computer that no longer wants to work with me.
No! No!
I'm gonna plug that in, and then hopefully it should run. All right, moment of faith. Nice. Very nice. RTX. Q. So now we know that it does work. Good stuff. Now I gotta plug in my monitors and everything else. I didn't talk much in the in-person videos as I was just starstruck with the PC, but trust me when I say that this computer makes me feel limitless in my content creating abilities. Thanks again so much for helping us reach this goal. And for those of you who aren't part of the Patreon, consider pledging today for access to our early access original Thomas Trains content. And of course, as soon as I got the PC booted up and running, I immediately got to work.
Well, I'm hungry. I want my little six.
Damn one that I can now go eat. Oh shit!
If you guys are.
Oh, get up! Get up!
Rick and Morty, Rick and Morty.
Alright, so where do we begin? James was a little more tricky than the other two big engines. Why? Well, Hybrid Henry has his one basis of the Black 5. Gordon has his one basis of the A1. But James was an amalgamation of a couple engine classes. Now you ask, why didn't you just go with the Class 28? And I have the perfect response that will fully make you understand where I am coming from. And maybe you will side with my opinion going forth. So, why not the Class 28? It ugly. Now don't get me wrong. There are elements of the LNYR Class 28 in the Hybrid James, and the Class 28 on its own is a fine looking locomotive. But when you add that front bogie and paint it red, it just looks so long. The Jamesification makes it look like his head is pushed all the way back, and I just can't shake off that look if I replicated that to a T. So, it's a hybrid of two engine classes. So, one is the Class 28, which is the other? The LNER J11. Okay, listen. You can rag on it all you want, but sometimes he has good ideas. Now, of course, I'm not going to copy every single one of his designs, as I don't align with all of his headcanons, but he definitely picked out a pretty good engine class for James that's not the 28. The difference is that Tugs is 100% J11, whereas mine is my attempt at mixing the best of both worlds, or in this case, best of both engine classes. And we'll get to what classes inspired what part, but first, let's cover the first thing I modeled for James, his tender. Now, most engines in the RWS used Fowler tenders, if I'm not mistaken, but as of recent, there's been a debate about whether said tenders were illustrated as Fowler tenders or Montswell tenders. Now, they do look close, but they have their differences. I ended up choosing to go with the classic and chose to make a Fowler tender. So, let's see what I have to work with. Oh. No, you don't quite realize until you're trying to make the model more realistic how toy-like the TBS models looked at times. Comparing a real Fowler and the TBS's interpretation to it, like, yeah, without the frames in between, it looks like it's on peg legs. Very boxy and lackluster in its details, but no matter. I can fix all that. The first thing I knew I had to do was make it longer than the TBS version so it'd go from a box to a rectangle. There, that looks better. Second thing it definitely needed were chassis frames to cover up that empty space to stop it from looking like it's on stilts. Quite the improvement. It's taking form already. I cut the little hump in the back as it should have and made an opening for the water tanks and all, just like how Hybrid Gordon has. These two parts I don't know the name of, but if you do, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, I added them as the real Fowler tenders had, and I added some pre-made simplified tender cab details to fit on there snugly as the actual TBS tender cab had absolutely nothing. But not to worry, now that is fixed. The last thing I had to do was add the handrails and step ladders. Now you'll notice that the front handrails and the back handrails are different types. Now I don't know why that is, but it helps break up the clunky look of it, especially when I paint the back ones red. The last thing I did for this tender was add some optional coal rails that the real Fowler tenders had. Now, the TBS didn't have these, and the RWS tenders didn't have them either, which is probably one of the leading reasons as to why many people may think they were originally Montswell tenders. But regardless, in-game, they are a load, which means you can put them on and take them off with a simple checkmark click. Alright, now putting the finished hybrid tender with regular TBS James, it's already looking much better. Much more coherent and in line with the proportions of one another. But obviously, we still gotta hybridify the front. Alright, so first things first, I knew I wanted to change the boiler shape to something with a taper to it, but also keep the running board the same length to further ensure that he didn't end up longer than I wanted him to be. I changed the smokebox support to be more unique and different than what Edwards is going to be, and I also took out the arches as I planned to make newer ones and filled out the empty space in between. I lowered the cab just a little bit to be more in line with the firebox. Then looking at the front, I realized I wanted to definitely change the windows. You know, drag them downward in this way. I shrunk down the firebox because it was just overall too big and looked clunky. And in the middle of figuring out how to rectify the proportions of the model, I found this empty space that TBS James has. It's kind of gross, but we'll figure out a solution later. I made new splashes with indents, you know, so they go a little inward and have a lip around their circumference to make him feel more special, you know. I then painted them gold to see if I liked it, but spoiler, I removed them in the end. Also, I wanted a fatter dome. Henry's dome and Gordon's dome fit nicely with the proportions in of themselves, but James's looks too skinny for such a round looking engine. You know what I mean? Big round shapes everywhere on the train and then this very slim pointy dome. It's not cool. But beggars can't be choosers, and people have differentiating opinions, so in game it is also a load if you want the bigger dome or just the regular one. Personally, I'm going to keep using the big dome. Now back to that empty space between the front and the bogie. Also, the wheels look too close together. A friend said, "Hey, why not try a different engine's chassis?" And I said, "Hey, that's a good idea. Thanks, friend." Alright, so Thomas's is off the bat going to be the same or smaller in size. But you know who else uses the BR55 chassis and has chassis? Alright, let's just drag them into the file and... Let's try it anyways. Maybe it'll look... Okay, so here's the genius idea I had instead. Alright, so Thomas is too small, Dux is too big. So here's what I figured out. Alright, you ready for this? You ready for this? I moved the chassis a little more forward. And I mean, yeah, it kind of worked. It filled out that awkward space. But while looking at that duck file, thanks Git, I noticed Git's model, and therefore the duck model itself, had these step ladders in the middle of the running board. I put them on James. And I don't know, but I think it looks good. In hindsight, it also should have been a load, but meh, I think it's a nice addition. Especially when you take into consideration that these hybrid models are a hypothetical of, quote, what if they had a bigger budget, or what if the main fleet were introduced and made in Season 3 onward style. They definitely would have added the step ladders to break the flatness of the lower half. Looking at another Great Western engine, thanks Jake, I noticed Jake's Oliver model and the chassis I made for him had sandboxes, which means sandboxes were possible in the TV series. And this is what that spot between the bogie wheel and the driving wheel was missing. I grabbed them from my Oliver chassis and put them on James and no worries, I messed with the mesh a bit to make it less obstructive and shortened it, and not bad. I added the sandbox caps I made for Gordon. This is where they opened the box up and put the sand in. Then onwards, I made a reversing rod as both the J11 and 28 and had ones above the running board. Boom. Nice. I added a second safety valve and made both of them taller. I thought of changing the whistle, but it's just too iconic. I couldn't bring myself to do so. Alright, here's how he's looking so far. Just for fun, I removed the boiler support, and I can't lie, it looked pretty good without it. Unfortunately, if you want to be realistic and go for a realistic aspect, it wouldn't be possible at all to run the model without the support, as that's where all the motors, servos, and eye mechanisms are hidden. So without it, realistically, the model wouldn't work. But hey, if you don't care, you can just use the model without the support, as it's also a load. It's entirely up to you. I made the big dome lips smaller so it wouldn't look so much like a cowboy hat, and put it back on the model. And yeah, as I said previously, I got rid of the brass lining on the arches because whatever. Also, Killstar Jake helped me in remaking his own cab model. He made the cab for the TV's James, and remade it, cleaned it up, and extended the lining to be more akin to the Railway series. And with that, Hybrid James was completed. You'll notice in some earlier photos compared to photos you might be seeing now that James's reversing rod has been switched from the left to the right on the same side as his ejector pipe. This is because I recently found out, halfway through the export process of the model, I found out that if an engine is left-hand drive or right-hand drive, the placement of the reversing rod and the ejector pipe matter greatly. So in this case, James will be right-hand drive, and therefore his reversing rod and ejector are both on the right side. Alright, now let's look at some size comparisons. Here he is next to Hybrid Gordon. Here he is next to Hybrid Henry. Here he is next to TVS James. And here he is next to Hybrid Percy. What? Where did he come from? Who brought this guy here? Shh. maybe we'll see him next time. Or should we see Edward instead? Let me know who you want to see next in the comments. And without further ado, let's have a look at what Hybrid James looks like in trains. Alright, yeah, I hope you enjoyed. For this I'm going off script, so it's gonna be very clanky in vocal projection. A few things, of course. Hybrid James is under our first class tier for $20 USD. He comes in a plethora of liveries and a few new faces, but most of it is still the same. Keep in mind that if you have both Hybrid James and TBS James, you can freely put the Hybrid James faces onto TBS James if you so wish. However, I believe that both face packs will become one once Hybrid James officially releases. As I said in the beginning of the video, I have a couple of things I wanted to show you. One relating to TSI and then one more a personal project. So, first and foremost, this personal project is something I've been imagining and cultivating in my head since 2022, but it wasn't something I really had the time to do, and maybe, you know, I was stalling until I got the new computer. But something I want to do just for fun, not for actually selling or marketing, is this like fictional line of Thomas merchandise called Sudrian Toys. Okay, very, very humble of me. Here's a little like preview of what it would look like. But of course, unfortunately, I don't have the marketing licenses of Thomas and Friends, so it could never be a real thing. But I think they look really cool, and you know, maybe I can make like a fake unboxing video. It takes some time, as it would be 100% animation, as this is all 3D. But let me know if you'd be interested in seeing that. Lastly is a teaser for an upcoming TSI newsletter. That's right, a new newsletter is officially on the way, more towards late summer to early fall. For those who don't know, we've had lore cultivating in the background of each newsletter, and for that we've made a trailer covering it. Now please keep in mind that this is a little spooky, and it can come across scary to some, so if you don't feel comfortable with creepy material, please skip to the timestamp on your screen now. For those of you who are brave, and are interested in further developments in TSI, please keep watching. Thank you.
The night bird calls and shadows creep. I sink again just like a stone. My body's cold and I'm all alone. I do not think that I shall rise or open up these weary eyes. I do.
Again, let me know in the comments who you'd like to see next. Would you like to see Hybrid Percy? Or would you maybe want me to finish Hybrid Edward first? Or a completely different character? Feel free to let me know. And as always, before pledging, keep in mind that if you are pledging for these early access models, keep in mind that they are early access and you are only paying for a future free to download model. So feel no pressure to buy them now, but if you want them now and you have the money, please do so at your own leisure. Alright, with all that out of the way, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.